Hello, everybody. My name is Abdi Lajavardi. I am the CEO of Pro Education Group. We are a consulting firm based here in California, and we have been serving the education industry for the last 18 years. Some of you have seen our previous programs on education for a better world, and some maybe is the first time that they are joining us, but in any event, welcome. Our goal in this program is to invite distinguished guests from all over the world to hear about their experience, what they think about education industry, what are the things they have experienced, how we can benefit from their insight to identify the challenges and opportunities that exist in education world today. So today I have the pleasure of having Dr. Tim Dosemagen joining us, and we are very delighted to have you, Tim. Welcome to Education for a Better World.
Thank you, Abdi. Good to be here.
Wonderful. What I like to ask you is maybe you can give us a little background about you, where you were born, how did you even get involved with your schooling, and start there, and we'll then learn more about you.
You bet. I grew up and found my early education halfway between Chicago and Milwaukee on the western shores of Lake Michigan. My educational journey was probably like many other people's in that I never took a class, never did college unless it was after work. And so when I began teaching, that gave me a real understanding and an appreciation for the time and the sacrifice that so many post-secondary education students undergo just to be able to be in the classroom. The bachelor experience was one in a large university, 65,000 students, the University of Maryland, finishing at their home campus. The middle one was very nice. It was in the country, Western Kentucky, and that was where my master's was achieved at Murray State University. They just bowed out of the NCAA tournament. The doctorate was at Nova Southeastern University, and that's where I first became introduced to online education, which I've been passionate about ever since. So that's the educational journey.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you for telling us. Now tell me a little bit about your personal life. About where you're living now, and your perspective in life, and how is life treating you?
You bet. I live about 30 miles south of Tucson, just north of the border with Mexico in Arizona. I've lived all over the world. Of all the places that I've lived, I've come to really enjoy time and life here in the desert. But you can get in a car, and within just a day's drive, you can be in LA or San Diego or Phoenix or Las Vegas or El Paso, Texas, if you wish. So I'm not as isolated as it might seem. I'm in a good stage. We've got 4 little grandchildren. My wife and I love them, and we stay busy with them. But as far as where we are and the stage that I'm at, this is a great time. It's a challenging time for many people with a lot of just substantive transitions in the society for many reasons. But it's a great time to be educating because of the rapidity of the change.
Absolutely. Now, one of the things that I wanted to kind of ask you is that challenge that exists in education. As you know, I think for a lot of times in my career, I've heard employers, having challenges with our graduates from, doesn't matter, public or private institutions, and feeling like they are not as job ready as they would like them to be. And yet every institution is working very hard to kind of close that gap and have opportunity for their graduates as much as possible. So how do you see that situation? Are we making a stride? Is it getting better, or is the gap widening? And if that is the case, what do you contribute those to?
I think, honestly, the gap is narrowing finally, because I think a couple of interesting things happened in the last 2 years. If you fast rewind 2 years ago before COVID-19 and you asked people in your workplace, could you do your job remotely? I think most employees would have said at that time, white collar or blue, no, I could not. I need to be here. This is a sit in the chair occupation. I need to be here and work together collaboratively face to face. Look at where we are just 2.5 years later. And think about all of the students, Abdi, who took classes online for the better part of a decade before this event, and how well prepared they were for this distance environment. I think education gave those employees an advantage. But one thing that I would agree with you on wholeheartedly is we need to be preparing our students for success in the workplace while they're in the classroom. One of the best techniques I've ever seen was a professor who, at the end of every class, not at the end of the class or the course, but at the end of every day's instruction, would close with about a 15-minute activity, and every student had to participate. And the question was, what have you learned in this lesson today that you can apply in the workplace tomorrow? And how do you see that working in your own workplace? Just the ideation and just the question itself focuses the students on how they can contribute what they're learning and put it to work. The old idea of learn it today and apply it tomorrow, I think, is so key in higher education.
Very well said. And you and I have talked before offline about the same thing, that when people see the application of what they're learning, it just, stays with them longer, and it gives them excitement for what is next. Now, you have had a lot of different experience, with your career, working in, large, small, mid-size, universities and colleges. So if anything that, a lot of people that are watching our programs are educators from all over the world. So if there is some advice that individuals can, from first perspective of a faculty member, what are some of the things that people can do in order to make their classroom more exciting, more relevant? What can they do for themselves to become better teachers? From your experience, what are some maybe 3 or 4 things that can help our audience to become better at what they do?
I think one thing, particularly for new educators, those who have been professionals for a long time and are now learning what the challenge is of inculcating their knowledge in the minds of others and seekers. I think the first thing is attitude. In other words, when you approach the classroom, to say to yourself and remind yourself, just like aligning a compass to true north, I am here to help my learners succeed. I want to create intentional learners. I want my learners to ask more questions at the end of my session than they had when they opened the book or got online. I want my students to watch that clock and wish they had more time in my classroom. How do I do that? I do that by exciting them. I do that by lighting fires. I do that by igniting passion and new ideas and tying those ideas to what's going on in day-to-day events. That's so key. New faculty learn very quickly that it can be very heavy lifting, Abdi, when you teach, if you're doing all the work yourself. And very quickly, new faculty learn that it is extremely important to get the students involved to the end. And we'll be amazed what they can bring to the classroom and share with other learners. One other thing I would share that's so important for all faculty, no matter what the course is, how is this learning relevant to their workplace? What do the students get, aside from the benefit of the knowledge that is practical, that they can use and put into play immediately? That makes education not just valuable, but it makes it priceless.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you very much for sharing that. So now let's look at it. Working at different institutions, and I think when we visit other institutions and we see every institution has a culture of its own, and just like a country or any other companies, that culture really attracts certain students and certain faculty members and support to in order to be able to fulfill the mission of institutions. And they all different, and that's the nice thing about the world, because you don't want everything to be the same. So looking at that diversity of institutions, but looking at something that they all can do in order to be better institution, to be a better place for both their students and their faculty. Do you have any advice for institutions like that you have seen, or what they can do to become better?
Absolutely. I think the biggest single effort that an institution can take today in an era of globalization is to send out the message that we welcome diversity in thought, diversity in workways, diversity in folkways, diversity in the constitution of our workforce, education level, background, and how they found their way into the organization. That is so key. Why? If you look at the world and if you superimpose a map of percentage of workforce where females are gainfully employed and gross national product, and you overlay those two maps, you will see a direct correlation between higher gross national product and higher diversity along gender. The more women that are employed, the more that organization and its nation are successful with business. And it's the same way, and you know this, Abdi, with languages, countries of origin, backgrounds, education. The more diversity we have, the more successful our organization is. How can an organization do this? In today's world, it's so simple. All you have to do is on your home landing page, make sure you've got at least 2 or 3 of the world's dominant languages up there. Even if you don't have your entire website linked to instant translation, have those dominant languages on your homepage. That'll send a signal right away. And there are just so many benefits to sending that message of being inclusive and fostering teamwork, because we get the idea of diversity.
Thank you very much. That's very, very insightful. Now, knowing that higher education, is really, if you would, I mean, my perspective, as we have talked before, the result really comes in of how well our graduates do, not only in the workplace, but in life, right? So a big part of our client base, in a sense, are industries that actually create opportunity, employment opportunity for our graduates. How can institution become a better partner with businesses? Do you have any advice and suggestion where schools can become closer and partner with businesses?
Yes. One of the best experiences that I've ever had, Abdi, was as a chief academic officer of a medium-sized college, 7 campuses spread across 3 states. We would program advisory councils for each of our programs, and we would conduct those twice a year. So what did that look like? That's a fancy name, Program Advisory Council. Actually, it was very simple. What an institution needs to do is, on a regular basis, invite in experts from the industry, no matter where they come from, but at multiple levels within the organization, from C-level suite to direct supervisory, and ask them to share what's missing in their workforce today, what they would like to see more of in terms of preparation from post-secondary educational institutions, but more importantly, what they see as the chief challenges in their workplace, and how education would prepare them to better meet those challenges, existing and future. That conversation and those three questions will generate 2 hours of the most interesting discussions that you can imagine. Light it up with some strong tea and some coffee and look out, that rocket is going to go.
Great advice, great advice. And I know firsthand that, having an active advisory board has so much benefit for, I think, both institution and the companies that they partner with, the colleges and universities. And the partnership can go beyond that, because you can have not only guest speakers from their company that can come in and talk to his students and graduates, but you have opportunities to set up internship. And here is one of the other questions. Some institutions have internship in some of their program or all of their program, and some they don't. What is your views of internship or externship for students while they're going to school?
You bet. I think they are, in a word, they're priceless. Why? How better to onboard a potential employee while identifying the standout employee potentially, while inculcating the brand new employee in the workways of the workplace, all at the same time that you're helping to see how they do their work day to day, how well prepared they are. That's what an internship accomplishes. And if you look at the development of the relationship between the higher educational institution and the place where the intern is placed, my goodness, what HR department in any organization wouldn't want a supervisor to be bringing in fresh ideas and fresh talent on a regular basis? I just think the internship is a win-win, so many ways. And I'll tell you a quick story, if I may, on an internship. I was working in the city of Houston for an outstanding college of healthcare professions, and they had campuses all over East Texas, San Antonio and Dallas and Houston, which is a big medical community. We were establishing a radiologic technician program, and that's a 4-year program where they get their JCERT certification. We had to go in and knock on doors and meet with MDs and ask them to consider hosting interns for this program. When we did that, at first, we wondered whether or not it would be difficult for us to, quote, sell our program to the hospitals. And what we heard immediately once we got in the door and met with the executives and the managers was, we're so glad you're here. You fulfill a role that helps us be more successful in our recruiting efforts. Once that got into my head, I thought, my goodness, what an advantage we have as educators.
Now, one of the things I know it has been important to many people, including myself and many individuals, has been mentors that we've had throughout our life and both personal and career-wise. And how can schools or faculty help the students with identifying that aspects of professional, career, or establishing, the parameters where individuals can then have role models and mentors that they can use as a sounding board as they navigate challenges throughout their profession and their life?
That's such an important question that you bring up, and such an important issue of mentorship. If you look at the success that females have had in the workforce just within the last 20 years, it's certainly evident that we are seeing a massive increase in female mentorship, which is so beneficial across any organization. But if you just look at what a college can do, every college has students who are successful. Every academic institution has those students who get very good at being students. Establish a peer-to-peer mentoring program. Give the students a shirt that they wear. They go into the first course, in the first section, in the first class, and they introduce themselves. And they say, hi, my name is Abdi. I'm a 2-year student. I graduate in another half of year. I've been successful. I'm in the program you're in. I understand what you're going to go through, and I'm here to help give you an edge. I'm your mentor. Put me to work. How do you want to succeed? Let me show you the way. Let me give you the hints, and let those peer-to-peer mentorships develop. And here's what will happen. Those senior mentors are going to get jobs. And within a year, they're going to be asked, do you know of anyone that you would recommend? And they're going to go back and they're going to remember their lists from their mentorships. It's just such a wonderful thing. And it's so easy to do.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think we have touched on several different areas that I think is really essential for building better institutions. And I encourage, reaching out to other institutes and other colleges, other universities. The collaboration between institutions itself can bring in a lot of built up knowledge and I think excitement to any campus. I am delighted and thankful for your time, and I appreciate you very much, Tim. And is there any message before we conclude that you want to leave our audience with?
My last message would be this, and this is not just for faculty, but for students as well. In working in schools and in workplaces, follow this 4-way test. When working with others, I need your help. I want to work with you. I won't waste your time. I won't let you down. It never fails.
Great suggestion, great advice. It's been delightful to have you on our show, and I thank you very much.
My pleasure, Abdi. My best to you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye now.